Brad Daugherty was the first overall selection in the 1986 NBA draft by the Cleveland Cavaliers, and it proved to be a wise decision, I'd say. 7-foot University of North Carolina, All-American, played 8 productive seasons for the Cavs before retiring at the age of 28. He was too young to have recurring back pain, but that's what got to him. Brad Daugherty had career averages of 19 points and 10 rebounds and was Cleveland's, when he retired, Cleveland's all-time leading scorer with 10,389 points and 5,227 rebounds. That was on a team that included Ron Harper, Mark Price, Hot Rod Williams. He played 41 postseason games and led the Cavaliers to the Eastern Conference Final in 1992. Daugherty was a 5-time NBA All-Star. On the Cavs' 30th anniversary in the year 99-2000, he was a unanimous selection to the all-time Cleveland team. At North Carolina, Daugherty was a 2-time All-ACC selection. He averaged 20-plus points in his senior year with the Tar Heels. Now, lately, you can see him, okay, if you watch NASCAR on ESPN, he's an analyst covering NASCAR for that broadcast outlet. So he couldn't be here tonight. He's in Charlotte covering the NASCAR Sprint Cup race. Maybe all that time on Tobacco Road got to him down there in North Carolina. He got into NASCAR. But the man who drafted him is here, and Wayne Embry's going to receive for him.
Thank you. You get another dose, but let me tell you that I don't know what Brad would say, whether he would talk about NASCAR, because that was always, some of us thought sometimes it was his favorite sport, but no, basketball was his favorite sport, and he certainly loved it and performed well at what he loved to do. And I don't know what Brad would say if he were here, but let me just tell you about Brad Daugherty and what he meant to the Cleveland Cavaliers during that period of time. I recall in 1986, I was in transition coming from the Indiana Pacers to Cleveland, and I get a call from Gordon Gunn, who was the owner of the Cavs, and he says, Wayne, you're coming in tomorrow, sign the contract. This was the night before the draft. And he says, we got a chance to make a trade to get the #1 pick. Who would you draft? And without hesitation, I said, we should draft Brad Daugherty. So I went to bed that night thinking, boy, this is going to be a great jump start for my tenure in Cleveland, having Brad Daugherty. And of course, we had the 8th pick in the draft that year, and we were going to draft Ron Harper with that pick. And so next morning, I go to participate in the Pacers draft, and I know this sounds complicated, but they trusted my loyalty to the Pacers since they were paying me through that draft, and they had the 4th pick, and we had the 8th pick at the time, so they trusted my integrity that I could continue working with them until I went to Cleveland the next day. And so that morning, I get a call from the Cleveland camp, and they says, well, there's a split in who we should take here. And I said, well, it's going to be Brad Daugherty, right? And they said, no, there's some who want to draft Len Bias. And I says, well, since I might have something to say about the team after today, I insist that you draft Brad Daugherty. And so I won out. We drafted Brad Daugherty, and he went on to have a great career, 8-year career for the Cavaliers. And he, ladies and gentlemen, exemplified what I said in my remarks earlier: intelligence, character, and talent. And he is one of the most talented big men, I think, to play the game. And had his career not been shortened by his ongoing back injury, pain, and he just couldn't go any longer, I dare say he would be inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame, because I think he was one of the top 5 centers to play during that time, because he was able to pass, he had a great shooting touch, and of course rebound. He was a 20, 10, and 5 assists. So that, I think, is very worthy of him being inducted into this Hall of Fame. And we were glad to have him in Ohio for the period of time that he was here. And he would thank you. He would thank, again, Coach Smith, because they talked about Coach Smith all the time. And that is consistent with what each of the inductees have said and what I said earlier. So again, thank Coach Smith and thank the coaches here in this room. And I got to confess, at the Naismith Hall of Fame, they got the handprint of Dr. J and Connie Hawkins, saying those are the largest hands to play in the NBA. And I said, you know, I walked up to those handprints and I said, you know, I take issue to this. Because, and I'll tell you, from here to here, it's 13 inches. So, and they come in handy at times too, see. I'm going to tell us one story and I'm going to get out of here. Bucky, you know, I'm going to tell us one story and I'm going to sit down. Because I've been up here enough. I promised I wouldn't talk as long as Jerry Lucas. I shouldn't have said. But in the 7th game against Philadelphia in 1968, it was a series. We were down 3-1 in the Eastern Conference Finals. And I got to play a lot that game because Russell thought that I could guard Wilt better than he could. And so I said, gee, thanks, Russ. So anyway, we got in a little tussle toward the end of the game. And, you know, unlike what many people think who know me, I was not the gentle giant that people said that I was. And so we got in a little tussle, and we're going down the court. And I said to Wilt, I said, you know, big fella, you can talk all you want. If you want to come at me, here I am. And he said, okay, big fella, let's go at it. I said, well, Wilt, let me remind you something. Nobody knows how you can take a punch. And I made that, and Big Wilt backed off. So these hands come in handy.